College Football 25 is going to go down as one of the most anticipated sports video games of all time. And one of the things that can make or break your experience in these college football video games is which team you choose to start a dynasty with and lead to glory. So in today's video, I wanted to go over the 10 best rebuilds in College Football 25. Coming in at number 10, we have the Academy schools. Army, Navy, and Air Force. Yes, it's cheating a little bit to include 3 schools in one spot, but you can't really just pick one. Any of these schools running the triple option, being forced to run an unconventional playbook and an unconventional play style is just an awesome challenge to have in a dynasty. Plus, you have the 2 matchups versus the other Service Academy schools to have circled on the calendar and look forward to every season. With Army and Navy both in the American and Air Force in the Mountain West, there's also some conference races to keep you engaged. Now, Air Force is probably the least ideal of the rebuilds here because of all the relative recent success they've had. I'd say Navy is probably the best option right now, especially with the new coach in Brian Newberry. At number 9 is Iowa. Are you looking for a challenge offensively? Do you find it too easy to march the ball down the field? Well, if that's true, then Iowa will be the ultimate challenge for you. They've had a notoriously pathetic offense that you're going to have to generate some life with. Now, the reason this is a little lower on the list is because the defense is already going to be elite, and you might find things a little too easy on that side of the football. And if you do find out the offense, things will get better very quickly. So for Iowa, that's something that's going to be a challenge on the offensive side of the football. For the number 8 spot on this list, I was stuck between Washington State and Oregon State. I went ahead and went with the Cougars just because they've had a little bit less relative success recently in college football, so it'd be a little bit of a more fun rebuild. They're coming off a season where they didn't make a bowl game. But the Cougars are just fun because A, you're in the Pac-2 with Oregon State, so you have a chance to spurn those former Pac-12 members that left you behind. You get to build essentially what's going to operate as an independent schedule, and then maybe create your own adventure in how they're going to go forward. Are they going to join the Big 12? Are they going to join the ACC? Are they going to rebuild the Pac-12 with teams from the American and the Mountain West? The world is your oyster playing as the Cougars. And they also have some fun and good players and a fun system to run, which I think is going to be very important in those first couple of years, taking over the real-life players that are on Washington State. At number 7 is Indiana. It's a Big Ten school that has not had a ton of recent success since Michael Penix Jr. was on the squad, and they bring in a new head coach, Curt Cignetti. You could essentially fill the shoes of Curt Cignetti, either choosing to keep his name or replace it with your own name, but there's some fun players on this team, including former Ohio quarterback Curtis Rourke that you could lead at the helm for Indiana. So there's a lot of fun things, and the fact that you get to compete in a really deep Big Ten could make for a really challenging experience for a football program that frankly has not been relevant for a while. So it's your chance as their new coach to take them to relevance. Coming in at number 6 is one that may surprise some people, but it's the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Yes, they have a ton of historical success, but in recent college football memory, they haven't really been relevant, and currently they have a long bowl drought going, one of the longest in the Power 4. So taking over Nebraska would mean trying to lead them not just back to glory, but back to some relevance as a school and as a program. There's some fun players in this roster that you get to play with. Dylan Raiola is right there as a guy you can take on as a freshman and have him lead the charge for you. And Nebraska football overall would be a fun rebuild because of how massive that stadium is and how much you would watch it slowly get packed as you get the program better and better. The only reason it doesn't go any higher on this list is that national historic success that I talked about that may take a little bit of the wind out of your sails when you're looking for a team to rebuild. At number 5, we've got another program that falls into a similar vein to Nebraska, the Florida Gators. They've got some historic success, but in the modern era have really sputtered, and now back-to-back losing seasons for the Gators. If you take over this team for your rebuild, you could be the guy riding the ship for Florida. Some really fun players in there. Do you want to make Graham Mertz a Heisman contender? Be my guest. Do you want DJ Lagway to thrive and take that job right off the bat? You can absolutely do that. A ton of talented players and untapped potential on this roster that could end up just being a really fun playthrough altogether. Plus, the fun Gator Chomp, hand gestures, fan support, a massive stadium, fun rivalries, and playing in the SEC are all major reasons to subscribe to this rebuild. Coming in at number 4 is the former Pac-12 team of Stanford. Yes, that sounds weird to say, but they're in the ACC now, and that could be a really fun rebuild in a new conference with a bunch of wacky opponents across the country. Stanford is just the type of team that would be a fun rebuild for the schedule dynamics and the fact that they haven't been very good recently, and they have some fun guys on this roster, some young budding stars. Alec Ayomanor at receiver is one I'm thinking about, a guy you can just lob it up to and hope he comes down with it while you're figuring out who's going to be there at quarterback for you. It's just a fun rebuild overall that's had some iconic and historic players, Andrew Luck, Christian McCaffrey in the past, and so rebuilding them I think would be a really fun time. Into the top 3 we go with the Vanderbilt Commodores in the SEC, which is a huge bonus. Getting to play at the national level in the stacked SEC with Oklahoma and Texas, your schedule will be loaded. It'll be really challenging and a lot of fun. Plus, Vanderbilt is complete poverty. They have not been relevant at all in a long time in the SEC. It's the ultimate challenge of a rebuild because you're not going to have any luck recruiting against any of these other schools. You're not going to have any luck in schedule draws, have one of the toughest schedules in the country every season. It'll be about battling to get to a bowl game and even get conference wins, and then from there figuring out how you become a national contender. This is probably one of the most challenging rebuilds, both in real life and in college football 25. If you're an absolute sicko, this might have been the first rebuild to cross your mind. UMass at number 2. The Minutemen, a program that has never made a bowl game since it made the jump into the FBS. And they operate as an independent, so you can build your own schedule, have some fun with the Minutemen, a team that uses the transfer portal heavily. So if you're planning on abusing that in this new game, it's realistic to do it with UMass. It's what Don Brown has been doing to build their rosters. And then, to add another wrinkle of fun, they're supposed to join the MAC, not this season, but the season afterwards. So if you play the independent schedule and it isn't doing it for you, you can just go ahead and join the MAC. And they have a checkered path with the MAC, so if you decide that's not the path you want to take, you can just choose to do that in the second year of your dynasty. It's still pretty realistic. Lead UMass to a national title. It would be pretty awesome, especially if you're riding with the storyline of a team that has never made a bowl game. Finally, coming in at number 1 for the best rebuild in college football 25, it's the Akron Zips. If you're looking for a serious challenge and none of this other stuff even does it for you, look no further than Akron football. Akron has been historically a poverty program, and in the MAC, they haven't been able to get their footing. Last season, only winning 1 game all season. You're basically going to start from scratch, talent-wise and otherwise, and you're just going to have to deploy every single strategy possible, whether that's NIL or the transfer portal or shaking up your staff, to try and figure out how to get this team to win. And once you get them to win, you could totally have a fun time taking them from the MAC to the Big Ten to the SEC. The possibilities are endless, but seeing Akron win a national title would make it all worth it in the end.